In recent days, the city of Valencia in Spain has experienced the most severe flooding disaster in its modern history. On October 29th, a massive downpour flooded the city within just 8 hours, causing extensive damage throughout the area. As of November 2nd, at least 211 people have been confirmed dead due to this disaster, and many residential areas have suffered severe damage, making this the worst disaster in Europe in over 5 decades. To address the severe aftermath of the flood season, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez ordered the largest peacetime military deployment in the country's history, mobilizing up to 10,000 soldiers and police within the first 48 hours after the flood. He stated that Spain has conducted the largest mobilization of armed forces and police in peacetime. So far, the forces have conducted 4,800 rescues, assisting over 30,000 people in their homes, on streets, and in flooded industrial areas. Accessing affected areas, such as waterlogged homes, vehicles, and isolated villages, has proven challenging, delaying relief operations. Therefore, today, the Spanish government deployed an additional 4,000 personnel from military emergency units to Valencia, with another 1,000 soldiers set to join the mission tomorrow. Additionally, Sánchez ordered the deployment of a naval ship equipped with a surgery room, helicopters, and a special convoy to be present at Valencia's port within hours. He also announced that 5,000 national and civil police officers would be sent to the affected areas. The response team currently includes 2,500 soldiers and 5,000 police officers actively operating in the area. After leading a crisis meeting, Prime Minister Sánchez emphasized that the government is mobilizing all available resources to address this devastating disaster, with the eastern Valencia region being the hardest hit. The Spanish Prime Minister asserted that this is the most severe flood the country has witnessed in a century. Witnessing the catastrophic images from Valencia, many are questioning why Spain had to endure such a devastating and consequential flood. According to meteorological experts, the cause of this catastrophic flood in Spain is due to a weather phenomenon known as Dana, or an isolated high-altitude low-pressure zone. This is a rare but dangerous meteorological event, and according to the Spanish Meteorological Agency, this was the strongest Dana recorded in the 21st century, reminiscent of the Hodes Dam disaster in 1982. Dana forms when moist air encounters a stationary mass of cold air at an altitude of about 9,000 meters. When this cold air meets warm air near the surface, particularly over the warm Mediterranean, it creates a large temperature difference between atmospheric layers. This disparity not only causes warm air to rise and condense into water vapor, but in conditions of high humidity and heat from the Mediterranean, which remains very warm after summer, storms and heavy rains are likely to form intensely. According to Jorge Olshina, director of the Climatology Laboratory at the University of Alicante, while the winds associated with Dana may not be as strong as those of a hurricane, the rainfall and intensity far exceed that of average storms, causing severe damage to both lives and property. Lago Perez, a geologist at the University of Oxford, describes Dana as one of the most dangerous meteorological phenomena in Spain. Experts also conclude that the severity of this Dana event is directly linked to climate change. Preliminary analysis from scientists at World Weather Attribution indicates that climate change is likely the most plausible explanation for the unprecedented intensity of the heavy rains that caused this severe flooding disaster in Spain. This research points out that global warming has increased rainfall in the region by about 12% above normal levels, and it predicts that the impact of climate change could double rainfall in the near future. Ben Clock, a researcher at Imperial College London and lead author of the analysis, warns that communities are bearing the brunt of extreme weather events in the worst possible ways. He emphasizes that climate change is amplifying the intensity of extreme weather events worldwide, with the torrential rains in Spain serving as a stark example. Another study by Climate Central provides further evidence of the link between sea temperature and extreme rainfall events. This study found that climate change has raised Atlantic Ocean temperatures, increasing the likelihood of such intense rain events by 50 to 300 times. Ernesto Rodriguez Camino, a senior meteorologist and member of the Spanish Meteorological Association, shares that in the context of climate change, Intense rainfall with previously rare severity and frequency will increasingly become more common and lead to more devastating impacts. He further stresses that heavy rain events are no longer rare climatic occurrences, but are now part of a new climate pattern. Additionally, the global temperature rise deeply impacts the water cycle, making heavy rainfall events increasingly irregular and extreme. Researchers note that with rising sea temperatures, extreme weather phenomena like this will not only occur in Spain, but may also impact many other regions around the world. They warn that nations need to be prepared for more severe weather conditions, as climate change is causing events once considered once in 1,000 years to now happen much more frequently within a decade. Beyond climate-related causes, human oversight has worsened the flood's consequences, particularly due to failures in the emergency communication system. Jorge Olcina, director of the Meteorological Observatory at the University of Alicante, states that while there was sufficient time to warn the public, meteorological alerts did not reach people promptly or effectively. This delay led to a lack of awareness of the impending danger, with residents continuing their daily activities without preparing for the approaching emergency. Residents in the town of Paiporta, which was heavily affected by the flood, reported that on October 29th, they continued their daily routines without noticing any warning signs. They went about their activities, playing soccer, and even strolling through the streets, unaware that water levels were rapidly rising and threatening to submerge the town. A Valencia resident recalled receiving a shelter-in-place alert on his phone only after his car was completely submerged in floodwaters. Around 8 a.m., when I was neck-deep in water and swallowing mud, I finally heard the civil protection alert, he shared. In Spain, an emergency system was designed to send climate threat notifications directly to every citizen via mobile messages. Although this system was tested in Madrid last year, its effectiveness was not fully demonstrated in this event, as it still encountered serious issues. It took up to 12 hours for the alert to reach residents' phones from the time the National Meteorological Agency issued a red warning. This delay left hundreds of thousands of Valencia residents in a dangerous situation, as floodwaters suddenly surged into residential areas, turning streets into rivers and submerging villages, forcing people to seek safety on rooftops. Specifically, the Meteorological Agency issued an orange warning around noon on October 28th, advising Valencia residents to prepare for upcoming severe weather. On October 29th, heavy rains began in the morning, and the agency raised the alert to red, the highest level at 7:36 a.m., indicating the situation had become critically dangerous. However, it wasn't until 8:12 p.m. that day that local authorities sent a text message warning residents to stay indoors and avoid going outside. By then, many areas were already flooded, and residents faced rising waters that posed severe threats to their lives. The director of the Environmental Urban Development and Sustainability Laboratory in Barcelona commented that, although the floodwaters arrived swiftly and unexpectedly, the situation was worsened by the authorities' delay in issuing necessary warnings. She emphasized that if people had been alerted earlier and had time to take protective measures, the loss of life and property could have been significantly reduced.